Okay, so to do this car effect, it's a pretty straightforward thing. So we have these two elements, the car and the girl. The car here, if I go to the blending mode, I'll just change it to normal. And really the first thing we gotta do is just decide on the speed of the car. And then, once we like, how fast the car goes, and that was kind of the one thing that I kept on changing. I did, I believe, like 3 versions of it, because it's just because I kept on going back and forth adjusting the speed of the car. But once you decide how fast you want this car to go, and again, you can just adjust the speeds very easily by going into time here, and and they enable time remapping or just time stretch, and you can just do adjust the speed 100%, 200%, whatever you want it to be. And then once you have that, then you just have to sort of start cutting out this car. So this is how the car looks, and if I go like to a later frame like this, for example, like here, then you take the masking tool here in After Effects, and you click, and if you click down the left mouse button and then you hold it, then you get these two handles, and that means that you can create like a very kind of curved point. So like this, and then for example click and hold again and stretch these, and you can see you can control this line. So with a very few points you can sort of very easily outline this car. Again like this, like that for example, and here let's say we want a sharp point, so I'll just click it and release it. Click it and that's it, it's going to create like a very sharp turn. Then for this wheel here, I'm going to again stretch it, like this maybe, here click it, this will be again straight, like this, and I'll create right away the whole shape sort of the car as I more or less think it's going to be in the back, so then later on I can just continue that same mask. And you don't have to do too much detail, because we know that in both of the takes the car is when the take with the car and without the car the background is the same, so it will essentially line itself up. So we have it like this. Then you can also go into your here the car layer, go to mask, and just go feather it. Just drag this, and that essentially just softens the edges a bit. So we softened it by 10 pixels. And then what you do is you also create a key here by clicking this stopwatch. So you see created it for that mask. And then if let's say we go back a few frames, the car is here, we'll just drag and drop it like this. And you see the perspective changed a little bit, so now we have to click those points, so you can select you can select a few of them like this, and you move them, and you just slowly sort of adjust it. So, and when I made all those changes, you see that it created automatically another keyframe here. Now when I go between these two, the mask more or less follows it. Now you're gonna still have to go sometimes between frames, like you see here, and just double click on the mask. You can drag all the points, and you can just sort of adjust it. And you kind of want to do it, until you've pretty much cut out the car for, it's not too many frames, so it won't take you that long, because the car kind of zooms by, and you kind of just basically go through it and cut it out for the remainder of those frames. So once you have the car here on a clean background, next thing that I did is I would cut out basically Diana, but just right basically at the moment where she gets hit. And so here's how it looks if you see, and I also translated her, so basically created another layer. So here's going to turn off everything. Here's the layer, just Diana, and I kind of roughly cut him out because also there were some people walking behind her that I wanted to cut him out. So that I did an overall just mask, just very simple. And then I took one of the clear still frames of just the background, and I basically put that in behind her. So this is how it looks now. And it's, like I said, this mask doesn't have to be that detailed because she's basically being composited on the identical background that she was filmed on. So very simple mask, and just keyframed it. Very just 2 keyframes actually. And once she gets to this point, what I then do is I switch basically to a copy of the layer. I just duplicated the layer by you can either select the layer and then go edit duplicate, or you can just go control D, and I duplicated this layer here, and what it is it's basically more of a detailed kind of a mask now, because I want to be able to cut her out and sort of put her, you know, with a very fine detail, as if she's going onto the hood of the car. And then I also took the whole, you know, video of her, the whole clip, and as you can see, I also translated and rotated that. So when you look at the transform here, I created a keyframe. So first frame is like this, and then the next one, she's already moved, and you have all these keyframes. And then I kind of move her out of the frame, you know, at the same speed as the car is moving. So when you turn on the car, this is how it looks. So the car is moving, and she's going with it too. Also with the car, you know, I ended up adding the shadow here on the ground. So it just makes it more realistic there. And so that's kind of how they both look. And then when we add that background in behind them, that's how, you know, this is starting to look. So it's you know, this is still like a rough version. So we're kind of gonna go more frame by frame and adjust more for her, basically the mask around her arms and things like that. So once she's all cut out, so that this is how it looks. So you can slowly see it's getting there. And you know, right away you can see though that what's missing still is basically the hood of the car here is basically, like, you know, you'd want to see the car a little bit damaged, like a little bit dented. So what I end up creating is I exported just a single frame here of the car, and then I painted on top of that in Photoshop sort of just this element here. So this is how it looks, which is just the car sort of hood by itself. And I just kind of, you know, distorted it to make it look, I just took that original image and sort of distorted it to make it look like it's sort of cramped up, and then here I just painted in some black. So, you know, as if it's the underneath the hood here, we can see a little bit. And then I put the girl on top of that. Now another cool little thing I also did is, which happens very quickly, only over a few frames, but I kind of wanted to transition from this, you know, this thing being basically not visible to being, you know, like, you know, full out sort of dented in. So what I did is I went, for example, to this frame here at the beginning, and I added the liquify effect. So go effects, distort, liquify, and then I grab my brush, and I just kind of push it back in, and, you know, sort of fix the shape of the hood. So that's more or less how I did it. And then once you do that, what you can do is you can basically animate the distortion percentage. So here I'm going to click this stopwatch, and it's 100%. And then at the moment where it goes and completely she's on the hood, let's say here, I want to have this to be basically, you know, take away the distortion. So basically I'll animate it to and click it to 0. And now when you look at it, just the hood of the car, it basically animates. You can see it going up and down, and that's kind of what, you know, what this thing will, what this distortion percentage will do. As you can see, you can then very easily animate from it being, you know, not distorted to basically how we distorted it. And, you know, it's like a very simple effect, and it kind of works very cool. So this is my final one that I did. This is how it looks. So here you can see it's very, I made it very flat, and then as it goes it gets more and more dented in. And then another thing then I gotta start working on is just adding some shadows, because you can see she doesn't look like she's on top of the car, because there's no shadows from her on the car. So that's the next thing we're gonna do. And to create those shadows, you can just create a basically new layer here. Go create a solid. We'll click on the color here, just make it completely black. I'll place it here underneath between where the girl is and the car, and I can even hide it for now. Grab our pen tool and just kind of you know, trace like a little shape, so it looks like here will be some shadow from her head, maybe here from her hand. Quick shadow like that. Then maybe another one here from her body on the front of the car, something like that. And it doesn't have to be detailed because it's going to be very fast, only a few frames. So this is how it looks. We can click this to turn off the mask itself, the lines, and then again we'll expand the mask options. You can click F to go just for the mask feather, and we'll just bring up the mask feather, soften it, and then go to transform and opacity, and we'll decrease the opacity, and kind of adjust it, play around with it till we create the kind of right shadow. So this is without the shadow, and this is with the shadow. You can see already it's creating the right effect. Here's how it looks with the finish. So the shadow, once I adjusted the position of it and intensity how I liked. Another thing also I added is the shadow there on the ground, but also the girl, if you notice, her legs are kind of, even though her body here looks like it's on the car, her legs would be kind of swept under the car. So another thing I did is if you right click on it and then go to effects, again distort, and you go mesh warp. And what mesh warp will essentially let you do is to sort of move points like this, and you can pretty much, you can rotate it. You can rotate it here by grabbing these handles, and you can basically, warp the shape of the whole video clip. So I basically just kind of moved it around till it looked like her legs were thing over it. So this is the finished one here. This is how I had to distort it. And then again, I just animate the distortion mesh. So I animate it first, keyframe it without it being distorted, and then I animate it when it's distorted like that, and over 2 or 3 frames will basically go into this position. So if I view it, we go back, you see this is a bit less of a distortion, and then this is how it looks here. It's not distorted at all. So it's literally over like 3 frames, and with that effect already looks like she's kind of being, really hit by that car. It's kind of, she wraps around the front of the car, and it's pretty much finished at that point. The only things you'll notice, if I just preview just this part here, here she's walking, she gets hit. It's pretty good already. The problem is still basically I find that it's too clean basically, and so one more thing that I'll end up adding is here. Basically, we'll turn on this glass element, which is this is from videocopilot.net. If you go to his website, Andrew Kramer, he's got these really cool DVDs you can get. This one's called Action Movie Essentials 2, and it's in the dust folder. Basically, we have one clip like this, which is just the dust kind of blowing out, and then another one here is of this glass breaking. And all I'm really doing is just applying the glass element. So if you see it here, this is how I apply it. So once she hits, I can apply it, and I move it a little bit too. I animate it so it looks like this glass falls on the floor there. And then another thing I add is of the dust itself. So here again, where she hits, I'm going to add the dust, and I just I flipped it to this, so that now it's blowing out to this side. And that's it. And this is how it looks with both those things added. So you add the glass, you add the dust, and it just kind of helps blend it in better now, those two elements. And when you preview it, it just looks, looks a lot more complex, and just looks like there's a lot more things happening there. So, and again, it's a very quick effect shot, so it's not too complicated. Once you have that done, you can go back into your Premiere. You can go Premiere, and then this basically is going to reflect, or you can do what I like to do, so that I'm not always having the computer calculate this. Is like once I'm happy with the effect, I'll just render it. Just go to click Control M, and you can go into your render queue, and up here you can choose where you want to output to, what are the settings, and I just always put best settings, and then what file format, and then I bring that into my into Premiere. So here we'll go into Premiere, and now I can delete this, and I can overlay my my accident shot here. So this is how it looks, and when you play it back now, with the sounds, you're gonna see it's gonna look a lot better now.
Shoot.
Now, one thing though that we did decide to do in the final release of the video is we did sort of a little editing change, and sometimes this will happen, you know, even after you've spent all this time doing effects, but we actually realized it's not even good to show the girl getting hit and dragged by the car, even if it's for a few frames. It just didn't create it basically didn't create the right effect. So I actually ended up cutting right at this moment, pretty much. She gets hit, and I just cut, you know. So I cut the shot to black already right there, and I basically just realized that it's in this case, because it's such a serious video and such a serious topic, the less we show of this gruesome accident, the better. We just, you know, better to let the audience imagine. So in a way, we didn't even really need to do the effect. We could have even just cut it just as the car is about to touch her, and that's it. So we didn't even have to worry about all those extra things we did. But anyways, sometimes it will happen, and then that's how it looks in the final thing.
Hurt you.
And that's it. You just see her like react for one frame, and we cut.